greying skies now as Ian Sherrin starts where he finished off last year, but right alongside the challenge coming from Shane Smollen will be thick and fast. Where is car number 23? 32nd spot, Tim Lay, and we get underway with the MRF Tyres 2020 Australian Production Car Series. It's going to be the car that led the last race last year. Goes streaming through to turn one in second place, and right round the outside, Dimitri Agathos goes. There goes the Carter Automotive, Mitchell Carter, number 7, Commodore, with Brad Carr right alongside there into turn one. It'll be Dimitri Agathos, the four-wheel drive Subaru. Looked to be heading west there, and he has. He's gone way out, way out off to the edge of the track there. Four-wheel rally ability on the WRXs. His mates in that number 66 back on, comes in right in behind the Mustang of Colby Cowan. So well and truly gripped up down there. Just got a little bit brave for it. Now we're seeing how greasy it is on the racing surface.
Check out the progress from Chem Ucell in the VW Golf as well. The front wheel drive handling characteristics of that car proving to be a big advantage in these very tricky weather conditions. And Dimitri Agathos, we knew that he was going to be quick in the wet, but a little bit too quick as it turned out. Heading into turn two, he's still making up positions though as he starts to recover some of that lost ground from that big off-track excursion they are tippy-toeing around. It is soaking wet here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Drivers that are able to take advantage. Very experienced Shane Smollen, the Porsche Carrera Cup Pro-Am class champion, who has hit the lead on the opening lap. Matthew Holt in his HSV up to second. Ian Sherrin has gone back to third, and Dimitri Agathos already back up inside the top six, even despite that big moment that he had at turn number 2 on lap 1.
Coming down into the hairpin, Agathos goes high and wide, almost banked oval style there, gets good drive out over the back of the white line there and starts to run the line up there. It's the car of Muller, the bright orange BMW, the M3 there, and up the inside of defending champion car 1 with Ian Sherrin at the wheel, the category manager for the MRF Tyres Australian Production Car Series. And there he goes, right round the outside again, picking up on some of the higher type of track, which is a little bit dry. Water tends to run to the inside on those slightly cambered corners. A lot of sideways action coming onto the straight as that surface change as they come off the back of the ripple strip. Absolutely frantic start to the MRF Tyres 2020 season, and there is a good strong field of cars. This is the combination race. We've got a couple of fields of cars here. The New South Wales Production Car Championship has joined in with the MRF Tyres Australian Production Car Series here this weekend, and we're starting to see some of those New South Wales regulars push their way up into the front of this field.
So one of the things to watch here will be cars that are stronger in the wet compared to the dry. It's one of the things that we often see in production car races, that there's cars that don't necessarily have the pace to be outright contenders in the dry, but as soon as it starts raining, they motor their way to the front of the field. And Dimitri Agathos back to the lead. He took the lead at the start, lost it at turn 2. It's only taken him until lap number 2 to get the number 66 Subaru WRX back to position 1. Dimitri Agathos, a very talented steerer. He's had international go-kart racing experience up against the likes of Max Verstappen, so he knows how to race vehicles in all different types of weather conditions. We've got pandemonium coming out of turn number 3. The GWR Ram Motorsport Mercedes A45 is off the road. So too is Zach Lachalpo in the Toyota 86. Cars having to weave left and right to take evasive action. Paul Pearson in his V8 Commodore putting the pressure on Durag in the number 42 VF.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. It's only lap 2 of the MRF Tyres Australian Production Car Series, and Lockie Manson crowns pandemonium. So what's the rest of this year's racing going to be like for the Australian Production Car Series? If lap 2 has pandemonium, we've only got the sky to reach for beyond there. So massive off there. Stephen Thompson in the Evo 10 is another one that we're watching very, very closely. Came out well outside the top 10 in qualifying, now into 12th position. But the Evo 10 was the absolute weapon of choice for the best part of 9 years in the Australian Production Car Series, off the work of Alan Heafy and all those other guys that ran Evo 10s as well. The Eastern Creek karting entry, all those cars, and this one's coming through the field with Stephen Thompson at the wheel, the Allworth Homes car. It's the white and blue car just in the middle of this shot. Coming into turn one now. There goes the Mustang, and that's got Colby Cowan at the wheel. We've got a lot of work to do with the Mustang. As I said, it was on the front row of the grid at this very race meeting last year on debut. Up the inside of the 87 there. Sorry, the 97 of Tony Virag. Not quite getting that done. It's a bit of good Aussie battle there, the Fomoco versus the General.
And the Mini working its way into the equation here as well. So again, a lack of horsepower is not really a disadvantage when it starts raining. So Dimitri Agathos in a Class B car leads the race outright. Chem Uzel in a Class C car is second outright. Cars that you wouldn't normally expect to be fighting for outright placings, currently occupying positions 1 and 2. On the first wide lap, Dimitri Agathos, fastest lap of the race, 2 minutes 5.1, almost 5 seconds quicker than any other car on the racetrack.
Richard Luffy having a real go for it in the MWM Mini there, up the inside, trying to join on with the four-wheel drive car. In fact, I would suggest the Mini there with Luffy at the wheel is faster than the four-wheel drive car. He's actually struggling to get through, obviously, in a straight line. The Evo 10 is a weapon of choice out of the two of them. He's gone right out wide now, right up into the back of Colby Cowan in the Mustang. The Mini strong under brakes, using its advantages in these trying conditions. It's all but stopped raining in the main straight now, a little bit of misty stuff, so it's only going to take a couple of laps, being that the ambient temperature was up around the 23, 24 degrees before this rainfall came down. It won't take too long to evaporate off the MRF and throw it up in the air, and the slight breeze that we've got to push it away. Have a look at this lead from Dimitri Agathos. What a ripper. Last time round, just under 10.5 seconds. Let's have a look this time, and it's going to be the Volkswagen at Gemuse. It's now out to 11 seconds. I don't care in anyone's world. That's actually a race-winning lead right there, already in 3 laps.
Well, Dimitri Agathos has to hope that the track doesn't dry out too quickly, and he also has to hope that there's no safety cars to erode that margin. That's what he really needs for the next 48 minutes of this race.
You pronounce pandemonium, and we haven't had a safety car. Maybe we need to back it up a little bit. Maybe pandemonium, you've reached too hard, too fast for it.
Too hard, too early.
Yeah, too hard, too early, went for it. But there it is on screen on lap 3. Agathos, Usil, Smollen, Holt, Muller and West. Where is the M4 of Grant Sherrin? There it is. Car 1 in position at number 8. Just buried outside there, having a pretty hard start to this first race of the season.
This is for position Shane Smollen and Tom Muller. These two have been teammates in production car racing in the past, but now they find themselves battling over positions 3 and 4. Shane Smollen, the BMW M3, having to take a defensive line to the inside and getting very sideways on the exit of turn number 5. Tom Muller uses that to his advantage, blast past on the outside line. We see it so often in motorsport. Often when it's wet, there's more grips being found off the racing line, because the rubber sits on the racing line, or it sits on top of the rubber and makes it more slippery.
Urs and Tom Muller in this car. They're looking for a good run, a good safety colour in these greying conditions, the bright orange there. These rear-wheel drive cars really struggling to get drive off the back of the corner. And they've got that big number 60, not 65 in Kavanagh Holmes car, pushing hard, pushing, trying to stamp home its authority on the field there as well. Pushing pretty hard is Matty Holt. That is the 2016 HSV Club Sport R8 at his disposal there. There's the number 56 car, Shane Smollen, sat on the front row of the grid now in P4. And believe it or not, the gap already to our race leader is 24 seconds to that BMW. Still haven't got the M4 of Grant Sherrin in shot. There he is at the back of the field now. And, well, the like-built BMW built Mini in its mirrors. And that car is absolutely coming at them. Great driving by Richard Luff in these very trying conditions to start the season in. Still some greasy spots around the track. The track is coming dry, at least in the main straight, pretty quickly there as well. We've got the number 52 off there.
Joe Krinolos in the Track Day Club HSV GTS. Just with a bit of a moment, obviously just staying on the black stuff in these sorts of weather conditions is a bit of an achievement in itself. And you mentioned there, Darren, that the rain had eased off, but it has started falling quite a bit of intensity on the main straight once again. Look back to the number 28 car of Peter O'Donnell. car that's had a lot of success in production car racing over the years, including 2 outright victories at the Bathurst 12 Hour. And he's going to come under pressure from the Toyota 86 of Eden Thornborough, who was the champion in Class D in the New South Wales Production Touring Car Championship last year.
Good to have that 335i back out and racing in the Australian Production Car Series. It really is a car that had a very long reign of wins across the board, and as Lockie said, dominating the mountain a couple of times, the likes of Paul Morris and John Bowe at the wheel of that car. It's, if you had a list of drivers' names in this car, it would be a who's who of Australian production car racing, that's for sure, and in fact some of the Illuminati of Australian motorsport have driven that car. Good to see it in there. There's 15 minutes into the race, and that will be the pit window open compulsory pit stop races right across the season for the MRF Tyres Australian Production Car Series, as our race leader Dimitri Agathos last time round had a 23-second lead in only 5 laps, 15 minutes of racing. In fact, it's not even 15 minutes of racing because the hour starts when the cars leave the marshalling area. They give them the 1 minute warning there, so they come around their warm-up lap, the clock is already ticking. A really good way to make sure the warm-up lap is conducted swiftly too is to say, righto, part of your race time is that 1 hour. The 87 doing very nicely there as well in Macintosh. That's a good run there for the Golf GTI for Reece Macintosh.
And Chem Ucell, the VW Golf, which was sitting in position 2, comes into the pits, so too Shane Smollen. So a few drivers jumping into the pits as soon as the pit window opens. Now, there'll be a few varying strategies in terms of how the teams that have got 2 drivers play out with the amount of time that each driver spends in the car. There will be some teams that will elect to do a driver change during this pit stop, but you don't have to, because there'll be some other teams where the drivers will each do entire races on their own and share the car that way. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how the driver duties are split between the 2 drivers in those twin driver combinations. But right now, we are watching nothing short of a masterclass in wet weather driving from Dimitri Agathos. His lead is now over half a minute after 5 laps. He continues to lap more than 5 seconds faster than any other car on the racetrack.
So all these cars in the lane now. Jem Newsom, Shane Smollen, Wayne West, Grant Sherrin there as well. So some of our likely contenders, in fact, some of the top 5 in the opening stands of this race already in the lane, getting that pit stop completed. We haven't got anyone reporting on pit lane for us, so we can't actually tell you what may be occurring down there as far as driver changes or anything like that is concerned. We are receiving text messages, of course, from our friends and colleagues in motorsport as these things happen. Here's a shot from the lane now, looking at a rear tyre change on the Shane Smollen car.
Of course, the cars in Class A1, high performance forced induction cars, do have to change 2 tyres during their compulsory pit stop.
Interesting that they're doing the right-hand side. In fact, it's a wheel on, wheel off, wheel on type of thing. They don't actually have to pull it off. It's pull the wheel off, put it on the ground, hands off it, so that the scrutineers can see that that's done, and the 56 car heads back out into the pits. So the only way we can keep across if there is any driver changes, not is to keep our eye on the timing screen to see if that is going on. We are seeing a driver change now down there in car number 6 in A2.
So Brent Howard out, Garth Walden into that car for the run home.
Wise choice in these conditions. I would expect that Garth will start to set some very quick times. Tony Viragan in the wake up number 97 now into pit lane, one of the New South Wales race leader now trundling out of the pits as well. So doing that, and in fact I would expect that Dimitri Agathos once the few laps start to roll out and the pit stops are done, he'll still have a commanding lead in this race and a very efficient pit stop. And being that Dimitri's in B1, there's actually no entitlement for B1 cars. Oh, the 28 off there, that's Peter O'Donnell. He's running wide like our race leader did down at turn 1. There's no trouble for him because a lap later he was leading the race.
This is where the pit-to-car communication is really important, Darren, to understand who you're racing, because once the order gets jumbled up with the pit stops, it can be very easy to get sucked into a battle with a car that you're not actually racing with in the bigger picture of the motor race. And on screen we've got a classic example of that right now, the O'Mealy Falcon just losing places to a couple of the cars that have already come in for pit stops. Dwayne West with an excellent run, better traction off the 11th and final corner, and he will slingshot past the Sherrod Rentals BMW M4 on the run down to turn 1.
That's actually for position in this race too. They've done their pit stops at the same time, and we're just starting to see where the pit stops are cleansing everyone. Dimitri Agathos into 11. Everyone else is just outside the top 25. So that just shows you what a commanding position that he's in. There's the Tony Virag car, shod for the first time with the MRF control tyres. Track day and club supported vehicle. And they are working pretty hard to try and get this wheel off this car. So, well, the 23 now in. The car that dominated this race meeting last year out of position number 6, started out of 23.
Tim Lay, their plan was for him to do the entire race on his own. The other driver in that car, Barry Clinton, will do the second of the races a bit later on this afternoon. But the reason they had to start so far down the order was they were having traction control problems in qualifying. The traction control wouldn't disengage. In the wet weather, though, you probably think that having traction control is not such a bad idea.
Yeah, that's probably why Tim's been able to drive his way up through the field. But, certainly Tim Lay, one of these journeyman type of races that put his helmet on, show him where the steering wheel and where the pedals are, and he'll do a tremendous job for him. That's why he has combined with Beric Linton so strongly over many, many years in production car racing. Tim Lay, of course, a very experienced racer, and really you're in some of the most capable hands there, and I'll cast his capability well outside the production car ranks as well. Guy can drive and he's fast. He can take orders. He'll do exactly what the team need him to. If he's run free and unleashed, he'll be very, very quick. But if he's been told to do something, he'll hit that time. They'll be saying to him, righto, we need to see out of you, 128s, 129s, 130s, and Tim will hit that mark every single time. They'll say to him, right, you need to chase down the leader, and he'll go quick. Where does that bring the number 23 out of this field? Tim Lay into the field. Okay, comes out in 20th. So he's made 3 spots. Started out at 23, made 3 spots in conditions that aren't ideal for a rear drive, high horsepower turbo car. In fact, it can be very, very tricky sort of conditions for turbo cars. There goes the teammate in number 56 down the straight. And here on screen is the 87 Volkswagen with the only Falcon in the field there. We touched on it during qualifying, the Australian muscle cars, and particularly with the Holden brand disappearing off the landscape. There's something that we loved for so many years. Holden versus Ford with a Mini mixed up, and it does sort of look like late 60s production type racing, doesn't it? A Holden, big V8 Holden with a Mini chasing it down and a big V8 Ford.
And the Mini overtaking the Holden on this occasion, as well as Richard Luff sweeps through around the outside between turns 3 and 4 to grab what will be third position outright in the race ahead of Matthew Holt. So Richard Luff, another driver who's maximised that Mini's performance advantage in the wet weather to motor his way up through the field.
A little bit of Colin Bond, Ted Brewster and Alan Moffat right there with the big Monaros and Minis chasing them down, as it was in production car racing in the late 60s and early 70s. The Minis were ever the menace. They were like the WRXs and Evos are today. If it got at all damp, the Mini was right at the very front of the race. So some things change but remain the same, don't they?
There's Tony Virag going around the outside of David Ayres at turn 2. Again, because of this wet weather, there's a lot of grip to be found off the racing line in places where you wouldn't normally drive, and there's some competitors out there who are exploiting some alternative racing lines, and I don't think I've ever seen a race where there's been so many overtaking moves around the outside than what we've seen so far today.
Well, the 135i out of Sharon Rental Stable, car number 19, really struggling to get grip there. Car 19 currently sitting down there in 32nd place with David Ayres on board. And watching very closely what we're doing there is the number 3 Mazda MPS. Looking good out there too is the MPS of Tom Needham, Mazda 3 MPS. Updated that chassis this year. Came out of a older Mazda 3 now into the MPS, which has been a real dragon slayer of a chassis over time.
Jake Camilleri was one driver, wasn't he? Who did very well.
That was exactly where I was going there, Lockie, the MPS. Jake Camilleri, when they could hang that car together, it was absolutely dragon slayer. It went out there and batted well above its weight and driven very, very well too. So Mazda MP3 when prepared and driven very well can be a very, very strong contender in production car racing. Dieter Holtz and Alexander Holtz in the BMW 1M having a good run here today as well. So they're currently in 10th place. Haven't had their pit stop, but currently sitting in 10th place with Tom Needham right in behind.
So Dimitri Agathos, just to give you an idea of the supremacy of the pace that he's enjoying at the moment, already back up to 5th position. So absolutely motoring his way back to the front of the field. He will have a commanding margin once everybody else hits.
So 34 minutes, 25 minutes elapsed in this race. Pit stop window will close with 15 minutes to go, so we've still got time there to everyone to get into the pits. Here's the Mercedes that we were talking about earlier on today, being chased down by the number 94 HSV. About HSV's number 52 into pit lane now, which is a Krilos entry. Coming into pit lane out of position 17. Interesting one, just looking at the timesheets, is the little VW Polo car number 12 with Ferns doing a strong job there in 17 on the road, albeit hasn't made a pit stop yet. Tim Lay absolutely charging now. He's gone up another position on the last lap around there, so watching the number 23, the car that dominated this event last year.
Reece McIntosh now leads the race outright. In fact, these 3 cars on screen at the moment are first, second and third outright in the motor race, because Tom Muller has just brought the number 77 BMW 1M in from the race lead. There it is on screen now, having its wheel change undertaken.
So Muller in the lane there. Brightly livid orange car, and came in out of 7th position. Strong to get back out, so it's an A1 car, 2 wheels off. Fitzgerald car number 140, now making pit stop as well, getting that done halfway through the race, so splitting the race into 2 segments. So the number 6 of Walden in the AMG, the Mercedes there, out into the 30. So they've struggled with these conditions to get that Mercedes team.
That's actually the BMW.
Ah, yes, sorry.
Yes.
So the BMW struggling to get that performance gain, I guess. Driver change also being done in that car, so that won't help ultimately their position on track.
So Reece McIntosh currently leads the race by just 0.3 of a second ahead of the very impressive James Keane Mini. And this, in fact, is the battle for the lead that's on screen at the moment. So the timing's updated to reflect the fact that it's actually James Keane rather than Richard Luff behind the wheel of that car. You can see there that it didn't quite have the straight line speed of the VW Golf coming off the 11th final corner. Certainly through the turns, the Mini is extremely good, and James Keane's driving well. Matthew Holmes is there in third position. He dries out a bit, so they can fully exploit the high horsepower performance of that rear-wheel drive HSV Club Sport. Dimitri Agathos, incidentally, already back up to 4th position and has a pit stop there, over the 3 cars that are ahead of him on the racetrack.
In fact, the cars that are immediately in front of him aren't cars that he's racing for. Spots in this actual race. Well, in fact, yes, they are. There they are there. That's the group that he has to get past, and he's almost on the same piece of track as the Keen McIntosh Holt cars.
So this is for the lead. James Keen to the outside of Reece McIntosh at turn 5. It gets run out wide over the exit concrete extension and still gets the better run out of the corner. So the Mini goes through to take the outright lead of this 1 hour production car race.
Terrific stuff to see. James Keen at the wheel, driving hard in number 51. They've still got to come to the lane, so this could be is going to be a short-lived race lead, but certainly giving a just reward to a team that this car was driven to a championship in the class back 2 years ago with Matty Thulis at the wheel, and now they're leading the first race for the MRF Tyres Production Car Series in 2020.
Remember a few years ago, Darren, when Bernie Eggleston talked about putting sprinkler systems in racetracks just to spice up the action? Well, at the time it seems everyone said that he was crazy, but when you get a race like this that's as entertaining and as action-packed as what we've seen so far today, you kind of think that it wasn't so crazy as what we all thought.
There's absolutely nothing crazy about Bernie's back balance either too. Guy had some really good ideas and took Formula One to the place it is now. And pretty clever man. Yes, an entrepreneur does have to be a little bit crazy and think outside the circle, and that's what Bernie made a living out of. Now car 12, the little VW Polo into pit lane after having a really strong first stanza of this race. So car 12 now into the lane, out of 18.
James Keen right over the exit ripple strip at turn number 1. That painted surface would be extremely slippery in these wet conditions, but he managed to maintain control of the car and also maintain the race lead. We've got the Mustang that they're coming up to put a lap on as well. Of course, the Mustang has already been in for its compulsory pit stop. We just had a graphic on screen there as well showing us the margin from James Keen, the race leader, to Dimitri Agathos, the first car that's made a pit stop. It's just over 12 seconds at the moment. And we know that a pit stop takes a lot longer than 12 seconds, so no doubt once these final stops play out, we'll have Subaru WRX back in the lead.
Again, some traditional Australian motorsport is happening there. A Mini overtaking a Mustang. Tell me the last time that happened in Australian motorsport. That'd have to be in the late 60s, wouldn't it? The original pony being overtaken by being overtaken by a Mini.
Bob Holden, of course, was the driver who won Bathurst outright in a Mini back in the 1960s.
Yeah, and driven many under 2 litre cars ever since as well. Always kept himself in a class car to Bob. But have a look at that, a Mini driving through on a Mustang, a V8 Mustang. And Colby Cowan just struggling a little bit with this car. They must be wondering what happened to the pace they had just 12 months ago on debut with this car. The Hames paint in Burley, tyres plus Burley entry. And up the inside goes number 65, Matty Holt. Really strong contender, great racer is Matty Holt, and taking it away from Colby Cowan. So there's that gap again of the Holt car into the lane. That will be for compulsory pit stop for Matty Holt in the A2 car. So sitting very nicely. The interesting thing at the moment is the A1 cars currently being led by the 45 Bryden, and the other next A1 car will be Tim Lay. So Tim has charged back into the contention there as well. Pit stop done. Got through on West and Grant Sherrin, so they've done a very strong job to get that car back there into the lane. Undergoes the jack. No onboard jacks allowed in the Australian MRF Tyres Australian Production Car Series. There it is. Wheel off. On the ground, hands off. Wheel nuts going straight back on. Battery powered rattle gun. Brave to trust that and back out onto the track for the A2 car, so just one wheel off.
And the pit crew do rehearse that process because there is times being gained and lost depending on how efficiently you can execute those wheel changes. So a nice job there from Matt Holt's team, and they get that car back into the race in a quick time and still inside the top 6 as well for Matthew Holt. So not a lot of cars yet to pit. We've still got almost 11 minutes remaining before the pit window closes, but James Keane and Reece McIntosh, the two outright leaders, still yet to pit. So to Alex Bryden in the number 45 Mercedes AMG A45, and also the Jacques Daniel Lustausen, number 94 HSV Club Sport, still yet to pit as well.
So Dimitri Agathos, like a shark in dangerous waters, starting to lurk in the back of shot with these cars. Just under 10 seconds now between himself and the race leader. That Mini charging down the straight here. There it is there. No, 7.5 seconds to the gap now. Number 51 goes for another lap. The Golf now in. So that's Reece McIntosh out of position 2 in the race. So now it is just one car between Dimitri Agathos and James Keane. And there's a black flag being displayed at the Crow's Nest. We can't quite see what number of that car is, but certainly a black flag being displayed. And again, that rain coming straight down. So there's absolutely no breeze here at the moment at the track, Lockie. The rain just falling straight down, no deviation. So very, very still as the AMG of Pride and Sheargold and Gordon comes into pit lane.
Not a bad stint there for Alex Bryden. He maintained that car's position inside the top 5 for much of his stint. Obviously, they will drop down the order now that they're completing their pit stop. That's still a pretty decent job for those guys in the Ram Motorsport car. And the news from race controls is this car on screen, the number 77 car with Tom Muller at the wheel, that's going to get the black flag drive-through penalty. Great shame, because they were very well positioned in the overall context of this motor race, and I can only imagine that perhaps it's a pit lane infringement, could be speeding in pit lane or some other infringement to do with the pit stop procedure.
Circuit parameters out over turn 6,
track limits.
Yeah, they talked about it strongly in the driver's briefing. They were going to be, if it was wet, they were going to be given one opportunity to correct themselves and then be given that. So we're only speculating on what that black flag is for, but it's certainly not going to be what Thomas and Urs Muller would want to have, because currently sitting in 6th place in the track, and once we have Keenan, Oosthuizen come in, they'll be 4th, so they will certainly disappear outside the top 5 as they execute that. Our race leader coming around, you'd have to suggest, with the shallow line exiting the straight, entering the straight there, they're going to the pit lane. Yes, they are, with the Warlord sponsored car, the big Holden, right behind it, charging down the long straight here at Sydney Motorsport Park. And there is James Keane to the lane. That black flag going back out again for number 77. As the number 63 goes charging past that black flag, acknowledging that it's not me, says Bevan Tanner. I will press on in my 2003 Holden Commodore. Coming into the lane now was the race leader, number 51 in D class. Again, up on the jack, Midwest Multimedia car, MWM emblazoned over the wheel arch there. This car, as mentioned earlier, has been used for some time to certainly win a championship, going back a couple of years ago, with Matty Thulis at the wheel, and still going strong. They really were the mini series with the modified cars that were running in the mini series, and certainly the JCW have been a good addition to the motorsport landscape. Car number 1 going very slowly indeed, being picked up by our cameras around the track.
They've just been lapped, would you believe, Darren, by Dimitri Agathos. Now, in the dry, there's no way, unless the Sherrod car had a mechanical problem, that you would see it lapped by the Subaru, but it just goes to show how quickly things can change when we get some precipitation.
Certainly does, and these guys have always raced pretty well in the rain, so it's interesting to see that they are going slow at this point in time. I wonder if it's that curse of the old control alt delete that you kids call it these days, Lockie, is some sort of engine management system where you just got to turn it off and reset it and continue on. Certainly can't adjust the float level and make sure the point gap's right anymore. Not as simple as that. Well, it probably is. It's just turned the key off and on again. But what we are seeing is that BMW is suffering from grip, and is the number 19, the team car. They're both squirming for grip at the back of their BMWs. Traditional type of driveline, front engine, mid transmission, rear differential, rear drive. And being chased down now by the number 44, Warlord sponsored Commodore. It's got that real thump about it, the great Aussie V8 coming charging down straight there, and they've got the number 44 trucking along nicely indeed.
So Dimitri Agathos just about to put a lap on the car of Dwayne West, who sits in 11th position outright. So that means that there's only going to be 10 cars left on the lead lap at this point. Again, just showing the dominant performance from the number 66 Subaru WRX. He has a 38.2 second advantage over the second place car of Jarvis Townsend, which still has to pit, and does now pit, in fact. So that's going to leave Matt Holt as the second place car outright, first of the Class A2 cars, and also first of the New South Wales Production Touring Car Championship competitors.
And a driver change for the Oosthuizen team there as well. So, car into the lane, number 94. There'll be Jacques out, Daniel in. Hands device already in place on the shoulders. They not working feverishly, but working deliberately, not to make any mistakes. Really want to get that safety harness nicely fitting over the top of the hands device. A little bit of notes being shared there by the drivers. How's this? How's that? Just letting him know, yeah, it's a Commodore. The brake pedal's long. Try our best we can. Try and bring it home. We've got another full weekend of racing to still get through. Let's not end things too early, because there is another 60-minute race. Part 2 of the 4 parts for the Sydney 240. Pretty simple formula. 4 times 60 minutes is 240. It's certainly great to be here with the 4 one-hour races. I think one of the really strong formats of production car racing certainly induces a duel, that's for sure. If you settle into a 4 or 6 hour race, not have so much dueling, but we're seeing that now. This is a ding-dong battle. Car 6 is going on through there, so that's Garth Walton from the BMW. He's getting a pass car. This is all position going on now.
He's actually worked his way back into the game, Garth Walden. His lap times in recent laps have been very impressive. In fact, he's probably the second or third fastest driver on the racetrack at the moment. Still 4 seconds slower than the sorts of lap times that Dimitri Agathos is achieving, but Walden being able to put his experience into good use. So all of the pit stops now complete, Darren. So we do now have a cleansed race order. Dimitri Agathos, first outright, first in Class B1. Matthew Holt, second outright, first in Class A2. Jeb Ucell, third outright, first in Class C. Rex McIntosh, fourth outright, second in Class B. James Keane in fifth position, first in Class D. And we have to go down to sixth, Tim Lay, to find the first of our Class A1 cars.
Well, and the other thing is that it's Muller right behind Tim Lay as where our race leader has lapped them to. Talking about coming out in wet conditions, I think Dimitri Agathos has come out of the shower, and it can be said that he's absolutely towed the opposition here this afternoon. We've still got 17 minutes left in this racing, but you'd have to suggest that Dimitri can start to short shift, he can start to look after his car. With that sort of lead over the next car in the race, 58, 59 seconds is almost unheard of as far as that is concerned. Black flag again being displayed. We've got a spinner there, the number 44 of Pearson down at turn 8, the hairpin at the big power stanchion there. Great corner in a racing car. You come round out of Corporate Hill, you can straighten the car up, you can always get braking done in a straight line or as much as you possibly can with opposition around you, and sweep around on wide open throttle to exit turn 8 there, turn 9 as it used to be before the track changed over at turn 6 and 7 there, as that alignment was lined up and removed a corner out of the track. So if you haven't been to Sydney Motorsport Park since those changes numerous years ago, it's now turn 8 at the big power stanchion at the hairpin.
Here's the car of Daniel and Jacques Oosthuizen, the brothers. in their HFD club sport. A couple of regular New South Wales production touring car competitors. They're chasing after that Ram Motorsport GWR Australian prepared Mercedes of Alex Bryden and Michael Sheargold, which has got Bryden at the wheel at the moment. And to the inside goes Oosthausen, looking for a move at turn 5. They'll run side by side on the exit corner. We've made the number 94 of the Oosthausen brothers that grabs the ascendancy there.
So let's have a good focus on the 2020 MRF Australian Production Car Series racing out there at the moment. Dimitri Agathos committed to a full national series leading the race. It's Jem Usul in third place in car 40 in second place. Then we go down to James Keane in the 51, who's currently fifth in Class D and pit stop completed, so an absolute ripping job there. 23, Tim Lay in the Berwick Linton entered car. Then we go all the way down to Colby Cowan in position 12. Then we go to 14th, Grant Sherrin, and there goes the siren for the closing of the pit stop window. Absolutely no problem for everyone. Everyone's remembered that that's part of the race and you've got to come in and visit the pits. So continuing on, Peter O'Donnell, it'd be interesting to see if Pete competes with the National Series. Looking further down to Tom Needham, who is in position 20 in his Mazda MPS3, Brad Carr in 23 down there as well, and Clay Eckhart in really a position that car has never found itself in, position number 27. A lot of improvement to be made there for the number 19 Sharon Rentals car. If you've come to watch Tony Virag slay the beast, he's down there at 32nd and number 42 in B2. Our class leaders now. A1, we have to look back to Tim Lay, who's 6th in the race and only just hanging on to the lead lap. That is absolutely amazing. We're starting the 2020 MRF Tyres Australian Production Car Series even saying that, but as Lockie Manson said, precipitation changes the game. It doesn't change the skill behind the wheel, it just changes the mechanical package that we brought to the racetrack. We were watching earlier in qualifying the car of 116, Eden Thorborough, who took out a very coveted award in the national scene, currently sitting in 16th place and second in D class, which you would have to suggest is going to be the spot they'll finish, because James Keane, currently running in 5th outright, is a strong run. James Keane being a national competitor, Eden being a state, New South Wales state-based competitor. So good stuff though to see Eden doing so well.
We do now have the rain stopped and we do now have the circuit bathed in sunlight though, Darren. So what's happening is that the cars that you would expect to be fast in the Tri are starting to be able to exploit their performance a bit more easily. So at the moment we're seeing lots of rain on the timing screen, which is an indication that drivers are punching out their personal best lap times for the race as the track conditions continue to improve. Dimitri Agathos still with the fastest lap of the race at a 1 minute 57.0, but cars like the Linton and Lay car are starting to be a bit more evenly matched with that Agathos car on pace, as we see with Tanner, number 63, BY Commodore SS, New South Wales production touring car. Has pulled off on the left-hand side of the circuit. That is between turns 5 and 6.
And that's actually about this race we had last year. We saw a massive shunt between an Evo and a BMW. It was a nasty crash finish. One of the jellyfish races under safety cars. So I'd be surprised if we had 12 minutes left to go. You have to say it's in a safe spot, but going back 12 months ago at this event, that was not a safe spot to park up the car. So the interesting thing is that the car that's leading the way, and I would expect the car that's then going to be the fastest in the drive, will be Matty Holt with the number 65. I say that on notice that there's numerous others, Tim Lay and the M4 of the Sherrins could also set fastest laps, but you'd have to suspect that with a 68 second lead, that no matter what happens now, unless we have a safety car, Dimitri is pointing towards the podium and saying that top step's mine for the first race for the 2020 MRF Tyres Australian Production Car Series. But Matty Holt's probably the next car that could be the next fastest.
If we were to get a lane safety car, what you have to remember, Darren, is that there's only 6 cars on the main lap, so realistically they may be going to be outright contenders. I agree with what you're saying on Matt Holt. The other one that I'd watch would be Tim Lay. We know that BMW M3 is very quick. There's other cars that might have the pace, but they're not going to be in contention because they're not on the main lap at the moment. Even if there was to be a lane safety car, and Dimitri Agathos still punching out the lap times that he needs at the front of the field. Minute 56.2, still the fastest driver on the racetrack.
Well, if you looked at the grid sheet and you looked at the way this race lined up, you certainly wouldn't expect to see car 1 down in 15th position. They certainly struggled in these conditions, and the car did slow during that early sector of the race. Shane Smollen doing a nice job in the number 56. It's a new M3 that's being built for Derek Linton. Of course, Derek is currently building Scotty Turner an M4. It's not ready for him to go yet, so Shane Smollen and Scott Turner will be sharing that car, and they will of course be out on track in the all Australian Production Car Series race number 2, the second 1 hour race, which will be starting at 3:15 this afternoon. Oh, sorry, at 5:15 this afternoon for their first race in just APC trim.
It's now quite a pronounced dry groove appearing on the main straight, and that will be present pretty much all the way around the circuit as well. So the drivers will be looking to stay in that dry groove as much as they possibly can, because that's where there will be a bit more grip. If you venture too far off the racing line, it's still very damp though. That will make overtaking a bit of a challenge in the final 9.5 minutes of this race.
Tim Lay now setting 2 fastest sectors, as is Reece McIntosh, and he continues to have to do so in the VW, because this car of Matty Holt will start to, sorry, not Matty Holt, of Tim Lay will start to hunt him down pretty rapidly indeed. Here's a good battle that we're watching here as well. So between Holt and Usul is 7.3 seconds, but this is a good battle here as well. This is between car 40 and car 80, and car 80 is actually in 27th place, and car 40 is actually in 3rd place. So this is actually trying to unlap himself in this instance once it starts to dry out. There's a drag race down the straight here as well. That's going to be Shane Smollen at the wheel of the BMW, and the Dwayne West entered car. So Smollen continues on and gets past Dwayne West. So that was for position in the race. So the BMW has picked up on the dry line. The Commodore not quite so yet. But now Matty Holt setting fastest sectors. Personal best fastest sectors. It's still Dimitri Agathos holding on to the fastest lap of this race. And if we look at the ultimate sector time, Sector 1 is Agathos. Sector 2 is Usul in the Volkswagen. That's an exceptional Sector 2. And then Smollen in Sector 3. So 3 different cars, a four-wheel drive car. Now it's Tim Lay who's just gone second in there. There was a front-wheel drive car. Now Matty Keane. Have a look at that, Sector 2. Has just had 3 different cars and 3 different makes, 3 different types of drivers. A 4th one now as Agathos goes through. So Agathos has now got the fastest Sector 1 and Sector 2, but it's Shane Smollen in the rear drive. BMW we've got on screen now, the number 56 there, that has got the fastest 3rd sector.
I still reckon that performance from James Keane in the Mini has to be one of the drives of the race today, to get that diminutive Mini up into 6th position outright, ahead of some much faster and much more powerful cars. That's been a very, very good performance.
It's an exceptional hang-on race right now, isn't it? I bet you the next 7 minutes and 5 seconds of his life he wishes could just disappear very, very quickly, because there's Muller, there's Smollen, there's West, all starting to line up. The other surprise out of this race, and it's not something that I take any joy in saying, is that the Mustang is still languishing down there in 11th spot. Started out of 23, yes, it's made up some places, but no doubt a front-running podium-getting car, in not only in its Class A2, but in outright. It's just languishing a little bit. There's something not quite right in the formula of that car here this weekend.
No, and the wet weather was certainly not kind to them, but you're right, when you look at their performance last year, you would have expected that car, even on dry pace and in qualifying, to have been a lot closer to the front of the field.
Well, Gary O'Brien and myself called the last race of the year at Tailem Bend last year, and we sort of ticked the box early that was going to be the title contender. They had horrendous luck in the last race, and they actually lost that title. They really had they had 1.5 hands on the championship, but it just was a failure that led them to not being able to do so. And I would have thought they would have liked to have started this year a little bit better than what they currently have. But like anything in motorsport, let's wait and see. Once we get this combined national and state race over, and we've got the MRF tyres field complete later on this afternoon, let's see what sort of pace that Mustang's got.
Finally, we're starting to see a bit of pace out of the Sherrod car, which sits down in 12th position. Grant Sherrod, who's at the wheel of that car, has just punched out the fastest first sector of the race. Tim Lay, the number 23 BMW M3, starting to come alive as well as the track dries out. He's just punched out that car's fastest lap of the race at 1:53.1. The overall fastest lap of the race, though, continues to be held by Dimitri Agathos, 1:52.1 last time around. His advantage over second place Matt Holt is out to 1:17.8 seconds. Jem Ucell, VW Golf, still in third position ahead of Reece McIntosh. Tim Lay in position 5, the last car on the main lap at this stage. James Keane in 6th position, leading the way in class B. Top Shane Spollen, Wayne West and Daniel Townsend rounding out the top 10.
Tim Lay now on fastest sections. Green, a light in the magenta purples. So is he about to steal that away from Dimitri Agathos? A 1:52.16. Tim Lay up until this point in time was best lap was 1:53.1, so a full second slower than Dimitri Agathos. Track, the M4, the car number 1 slowing down the main straight now. Just notice that it's looked up from the timing screen. It's not title defence that the Sherrons wanted to bring into this year, and there's the car that's more than likely going to take it to them all the way. It is Tim Lay. He's on a fast lap. You have to suggest he's just been walked a little bit there by the number 6. And see, Garth Walden got out of the way ultimately, but I would suggest that charge that Tim Lay had on that lap is just washed out a bit. No, not 1:52.11. Yes, he's got the fastest lap. Stolen it by mere thousandths of a second over Dimitri Agathos on lap 24.
And he should be able to get ahead of Reece McIntosh here, Tim Lay. There is McIntosh in the VW Golf, which is the next car ahead of that BMW. Tim Lay, now that the track is starting to dry out, should have quite a margin of superiority in terms of performance over that VW Golf. He should be able to drive past him fairly comfortably in a straight line next time through. However, he will then have another 13.5 seconds to make up to the third place car of Jem Ucell, and I just don't quite think he's going to have the time to do it. But Cruise on past the Golf, so that is the 4th position for Tim Lay, who started at the back of the grid.
Certainly a good run there by Tim's, the sort of stuff that he's absolutely renowned for, and in tricky conditions he's managed to not make a mistake. There was a little bit of sideways action, but everyone was having sideways action in a rear drive car early on in this race. Just getting on through. Really good stuff by Reece McIntosh. He really had no battle with the M3 once it starts to dry out. The pace is certainly changing. There's the gap between Jem Ucell and Tim Lay, 14.7 seconds with 2 minutes and 13 seconds left. I would suggest that car number 40 is going to come home with an outright podium finish, and certainly the lead in C1, because the next C1 car is Tom Needham all the way down in 20th place.
Jem Ucell on the tail of Stephen Thompson as they head through the very fast sweeping left-hander at turn number 1. Stephen Thompson, a driver with some not so happy memories here at Sydney Motorsport Park. He and Ed Kramer came within one corner of winning the Sydney 300 endurance race here last year. The gearbox expired coming out of the last corner on the last lap after 300 Ks. Can you think of any more devastating way to lose an endurance race?
No, that hurts, doesn't it? You don't come back from that very easily, do you? And down the straight there goes the Keane car. James Keane at the wheel, holding on to sixth place and should probably get it. This is the big story of this race, is the charge of the Harding Automotive VW Golf, sitting in third place. Dimitri Agathos leading the way, and pretty much since lap 3 after he recovered from his lead into turn number 2. Did a bit of traditional Subaru rally work. There he is now. Full Gas Racing, supported by Castrol Nova Employment Outfit. Hog's Breath Cafe blazing across the front of the car there as well. Shot with its MRF tyres, this Subaru. Whenever there is precipitation, these guys play into it. We discussed it earlier. Very much like Jack Miller did in the MPS, or the MPS didn't quite have the same performance rating, if you like, of a WRX STI. This car, you'd have to suggest going to get the checkered flag with only 20 seconds left to go this time around. Race leader coming out of the turn 8 hairpin has got himself and 1 minute and 17 seconds between him and second place on the road. So a guy that will be watching over the fence in the next race of the weekend, the Pulsars, 2-time champion of that series, will take first blood in the 2020 MRF Tyres Australian Production Car Series for Full Gas Racing. Checkered flag being readied at the Crow's Nest for, well, I would have to suggest, like you mentioned, the new giant slayer of them all, car number 66. Takes the win, Dimitri Agathos, Nova Employment, Full Gas Racing, and we have to wait another minute and 20 seconds before we see the next car across the line. How often do we get to say that? Maybe in a 6 hour, not in a 1 hour, but it's in full dry conditions.
What a barnstorming performance from Dimitri Agathos. He absolutely smashed the field in those variable weather conditions. We always knew that he was good in the wet, and we've got problems with the Sherrod car, which had actually just set the fastest lap of the race on the previous tour of the circuit, but still obviously dealing with some sort of technical glitch. They've had to do what you described before as the Control-Alt-Delete. They've had to do a system reset to get that car fired back into the action. And they will get around to get classified as a finisher, but clearly some gremlins in that car that they're going to have to resolve in time for race number 2 later on this afternoon.
Yeah, the Sharons have got to deal with some demons there. That's exactly what happened at Tailem Bend, as it looks like Tim Lay coming around to put a lap on those guys as well if they falter again at all. The main protagonist for the series coming into this weekend was Tim Lay and Barry Linton, Tim Lay and the Sharons in their M4, M3 versus M4, but hasn't quite played out like that. Tim has wrestled the number 23 home, will wrestle the number 23 home for a 4th place. And Dimitri Agathos takes the win. Matty Holt gets to the line very nicely indeed. Ultimately didn't get the fastest lap of the race, Matt Holt. In fact, that went to, as Lockie just said, Grant Sherrod on the last lap, and then the car stopped. But actually on the line, Tim Lay, the very last lap, Tim Lay did get it. There we go. Conditions have changed, haven't they? A massive jump to